Welcome to The Explainer. So let's dive right in. Right now, a truly monumental shift is happening in Kenya's public financial management. It's known as the Kenya Public Sector Accrual Accounting Transition, and it is fundamentally changing how the entire nation accounts for every single shilling. To really grasp the magnitude of this, it helps to picture a giant financial iceberg. You see, for decades, the country's legacy accounting system has only let us see what's floating above the surface, while these massive, heavy financial truths remained totally hidden underneath. Today, we're going to explore exactly how Kenya is finally bringing that entire iceberg into full view.
Now, you might be wondering, where exactly do billions of shillings in government liabilities actually hide? Well, under the old system, which is known as cash basis accounting, they were effectively submerged entirely out of public view. Because transactions were only recorded when cash physically changed hands, a government entity could commit to a massive infrastructure contract, receive the services, but if they hadn't actually paid the bill yet, that liability simply didn't appear on the main ledger. It's a classic fiscal blind spot. Get this, 4.5%. That is the estimated ratio of Kenya's unrecorded commitments, specifically its pending bills, to its entire gross domestic product. That represents a massive, massive scale of hidden financial obligations that are quietly straining the economy, delaying payments to suppliers, and creating this huge ripple effect of financial distress for businesses all across the country. So here's our roadmap for this explainer to see how the government is tackling this multi-billion shilling crisis. We'll start with the pending bills crisis, look at cash versus accrual accounting, walk through the 3-year transition roadmap, check out the upgrades to IFMIS and capacity, and finally look at what a transparent financial future actually means for Kenya. Let's get to it. Section 1. The pending bills crisis. Just look at these numbers from September 2024. They are absolutely staggering. We are talking 528.36 billion Kenyan shillings in national arrears, and another 194.01 billion shillings in county arrears. That means over 700 billion shillings in pending bills had just accumulated entirely off the main balance sheet. These are real goods and real services delivered by hardworking businesses. But because the actual cash hadn't been dispersed, these massive liabilities were just left floating in an accounting gray area. Here's the real kicker. This isn't just some administrative quirk, it's a massive structural flaw. Legacy cash basis accounting creates severe fiscal blind spots. It basically allows public entities to execute contracts without having the immediate funding available to back them up. Those bills are effectively ignored by the main ledger until the exact moment cash changes hands. And what happens? Well, it encourages overcommitment and leaves suppliers waiting, literally sometimes for years, triggering structural financial distress across the entire private sector. Which brings us to Section 2, cash versus accrual accounting. How exactly does changing the way we do bookkeeping solve this? Well, think of cash basis kind of like your personal checking account. You only really know what's in there based on what you deposited or spent today. It completely masks your future debts and the true value of what you actually own. Accrual basis, on the other hand, that is like getting a full corporate health screening. It records transactions the exact moment they are incurred or earned. If a service is provided today, the liability is recorded today. It offers total transparency by tracking all assets and all payables, regardless of when the invoice is actually paid. So, recognizing this massive gap, the Kenyan government stepped up and formally mandated a structural transformation. This sweeping public financial management reform was officially approved by the cabinet in March 2024 and then formally mandated in August 2024 through Gazette Notice number 1133. It basically requires all national and county governments, state corporations, and public entities to transition to this new, transparent standard. Dr. Chris Kiptoo, the Principal Secretary for the National Treasury, really hit the nail on the head here. He noted, "This approach provides a clearer picture of the government's financial health by requiring the recognition of assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenditures." That is absolutely crucial. It's a move that aligns Kenya's public sector squarely with international best practices and the International Public Sector Accounting Standards, which are commonly known as IPSAS. All right, moving to Section 3, the 3-year transition roadmap. Because let's be real, you can't just flip a giant switch and instantly migrate hundreds of public entities to a totally new financial reality overnight. To manage this incredibly complex shift, a national steering committee laid out a phased 3-year roadmap. They're utilizing transitional exemptions under IPSAS 33, which essentially provides a much-needed buffer period. This gives public institutions a systematic way to verify and value their entire financial universe without completely breaking the system.
They're moving from opening balances right now, through inventories, all the way to full compliance by 2027.
So let's break down exactly what happens in each phase. Year 1 is all about establishing opening balances, bringing cash, receivables, public debt, and crucially, all those pending bills right onto the balance sheet. Year 2 gets a bit more granular. They'll add inventories like materials and operational stock, alongside new leasing standards. And finally, Year 3 is the really heavy lift, fully capitalizing non-financial assets. We are talking about placing a verified concrete value on government land, buildings, and massive infrastructure. By June 2027, the whole shebang, the entire public sector, will operate on a standardized, full accrual-based system.
Moving on to Section 4, Upgrading IFMIS and Capacity. Now, new rules require new tools, right? And the logistical and technological hurdles here are literally massive. To pull this off, the government allocated a 3.1 billion shilling transition budget. A huge chunk of this is dedicated to re-engineering IFMIS, that's the Integrated Financial Management Information System, because the old cash-based system simply cannot handle complex dual-ledger accrual transactions. So they are procuring high-performance servers, updating the standard chart of accounts, and crucially, investing heavily in the people who actually run the system, targeting the retraining of 6,000 public sector accountants.
But it's not just about the tech. This transition involves a massive human element. You can buy the fastest servers on Earth, but this is a fundamental mindset shift for thousands of professionals who are entirely accustomed to cash-basis rules. To close this capacity gap, the National Treasury and the Public Sector Accounting Standards Board, or PSASB, have launched extensive e-learning programs. They're collaborating with professional bodies like ICPAC and the Institute of Internal Auditors Kenya to ensure this transition is successful on a real human level.
And finally, Section 5, a transparent financial future. So what does this all mean for us? When you finally bring that whole financial iceberg into view, the tangible benefits are honestly profound. First off, it allows for the efficient tracking and settlement of pending bills, which basically puts an end to that vicious cycle of off-book debt. It provides much clearer management of contingent liabilities, especially when we talk about public-private partnerships. It ensures balanced intergenerational funding, meaning we aren't just pushing the cost of today's government services onto tomorrow's taxpayers. And on a global scale, it massively enhances Kenya's credibility with international development partners, which can totally open doors for better sovereign borrowing terms. FCPA Georgina Machai, the CEO of PSASB, sums up the ultimate goal perfectly. She notes, "The adoption of the revised reporting templates is expected to improve the quality, comparability, and credibility of public sector financial statements to enhance transparency." Ultimately, everything we've talked about in this explainer boils down to accountability, informed decision-making, and really restoring public confidence in how national resources are managed.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really think about. How do you think greater financial transparency is going to impact Kenya's long-term economic growth? Because when a country makes the brave shift from masking its liabilities to putting absolutely everything on the table, it doesn't just change the math, it changes the future. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I hope this helped you see what's really beneath the surface of the financial iceberg.